and we got her, but it was cold. And
Hey, Chief, check the cameras for Chris's speeding.
Oh, okay.
He was going to be late because he got held on traffic in there. Yeah, check the north cameras.
It's amazing how fast people run it from even work.
Mayor. I feel the same way, bro. We gotta go.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Good evening. Would you stand with me for the invocation and pledge of allegiance, please? Father, we come to you this evening asking for your blessings and your grace, and ask us to be with us all as we get to the deliberations of the city budget. Help us to plan and make sure that all of our departments are taken care of. Please be with us and guide us as we go through this process. Please be with all of our family and friends and all the things that you deal with in the normal course of life. We thank you for the things that you've done for us, and we ask that you continually keep us in your grace. These things we ask in your holy name. And amen. Mr. Azinger, you're close.
Audience, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call to order this special session of the Vienna City Council for March the 2nd, 2022. Let the record reflect that I've taken roll that all members of council, with the exception of Councilman Leach, are present this evening. Having a quorum, we will proceed. The minutes from the council meeting held on February the 23rd, 2023 have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
I just have one, if I may. I would like the minutes to be, something to be added to the minutes that I asked, I think, 3 different times, that someone from Friends of Vienna present about the rodeo.
Okay.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that, please?
I asked why nobody from Friends of Vienna was presenting about on the rodeo.
Okay. All right. Once you correct those minutes, then we'll redo it. All right? So we have no unfinished business this evening, so we move into our single item under new business this evening, which is the discussion of the 2023-2024 budget. At the last council meeting, I gave each of you a notebook that has a balanced budget in it. In the front of that balanced budget, there was a letter from our finance director explaining a few budget notes. So I'm going to highlight those budget notes so that before we start with our departments and the questions that you all have, you understand where these things came from. The budget that you were given is balanced. You saw the zero up in the upper right-hand corner, but it is far from complete. We have not received our property tax numbers or our insurance numbers, therefore they are not reflected in this budget document. The budget includes a 35-cent longevity only, and the budget includes 2 new positions, a civilian detective for the police department and a safety inspector position for the fire department. Attached is a capital outlay work paper that itemizes the capital outlay requested by the departments. The total for the capital line items is $1,550,569. The Parks Department has absorbed $65,000 in utility, maintenance, and material costs from the 541 department. Department 541 is for VRIA going forward, and this year is in the budget for $67,825 in contributions. All the department requests are in the Dropbox so that you can see any of the justification that was given for the request. And the department heads will be at the special meeting on March the 2nd for questions that you may have. Madam Finance Director, any other comments before we start?
No, I did receive the property tax numbers today. I have not had confirmation back from the state on that number yet. I did send it to them. So with that and hopefully our insurance number in the next couple of days, I think we can round out the budget nicely.
Okay? So I hope you all had a chance to take a look at the revenues that are projected. Those are the first sheet that is on our budget as presented. Those revenues, in their estimation, is $11,070,194. And so when you look at the next page, which is all accounts, which is the summary of these, you'll see that that matches the number for the 23-24 budget. The first item is 409, which is the office of the mayor. And so we've been through these before. Mine is basically the same as it was. There is a slight difference because of some of the increases with the contributions that that our finance director calculated in the first 10 items. So are there any questions of 409?
I don't have any questions about 409, but can I start on the first page, the revenue page, before we go?
Yes.
Okay. So my first question is, do you have an estimate on what the carryover is going to be?
I do have that, but I don't have it. I can send it to you.
Can you give me a ballpark? I won't hold you to it.
I really hate to be wrong. I'm going to say 1.8.
Okay.
But I'm going to send it to you tomorrow.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely will. It's been a while.
I mean, I just want a ballpark, and so, so when we look at the revenue side, line 299, unencumbrances, is that where you would? That's like where the.
That's what I'm estimating. The 22-23 carryover.
Okay, so then line number, I'm sorry, 222, contributions from other funds, you have 300,000, 567. So where is that number coming from?
That would come in from capital reserve
Okay, so,
to help fund the capital projects.
okay, so just so I'm 100% clear, so 322 is capital reserves to help fund those capital projects, you know, $300,000 basically, and then the 299, you are anticipating using $450,000 out of the 1.8 million or so that you may have in carryover. It could be more, it could be less, but we're going to say that, right? Okay, that was my question on that. So we can move on. I'm good for right now.
All
I
right.
can tell you in the office of the mayor and council and the recorder, the municipal dues took a fairly sizable jump, and so that has been split between those departments, and that's where there's a slight difference.
Any questions on 410? All right. 411, city recorder. 413, city treasurer.
Slight changes in credit card fees. More and more people are using credit card fees, and at this time the city absorbs those fees.
416,
Hey, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. You're going a little fast for me tonight, or maybe I'm just not ready. But can we go back to 410 because I did have some questions there. So I noticed line 58, capital outlay. We had $25,000 for Spencer's Landing. So, and I know that number's been in the budget for the last couple of budget cycles, and it's pretty much for, you know, any kind of incidental things that are going to happen there on Spencer's Landing. But it's not, there's been no money considered for any kind of development down there. And, you know, I had a chance to, I spoke to Mrs. Roberts several different times about putting together a sheet for Spencer's Landing, because I think that would be probably a really excellent way of tracking what our expenses are going to be as over the years as we develop down there. And I see that that's not been placed in this budget, which is fine, but what I'm just curious as to why we're not considering any development at all down there in this budget.
we have no plan, and we're working on major projects as far as the kayak launch and the swimming pool. All right? So when, there's various items that have been discussed at length, a pavilion, walking trail, restrooms, those kind of things, that, yes, I think that would be a good start. But at this point, there was no reason to guesstimate a number until we have some sort of a direction to go.
Well, I understand that. I mean, I guess in my mind, I'm thinking about just putting down a foundation, and by that I mean the groundwork for electrical, water, sewer. And I think the biggest thing that could happen down there that would make a huge impact is actually to put restrooms down there. It's a blank slate for the most part, but it's limited because we don't have restrooms down there. I would like to see that happen. I mean, if you look all up and down all these river towns, whether you're talking about Marietta or you go to Gallipolis or Pomeroy or Ravenswood, anywhere, they've got something going on their riverfront. They have concerts and they have farmers markets. They have all kinds of things that bring people into their city all throughout the year. And at some point in time, we have to make this a priority. I understand we have the major pool project going on, and we have all these other things, but we've owned this property for almost 10 years now. And we got the certificate of completion in October of 2020. So at some point in time, we need to pull the trigger and start thinking about how we want to develop it. And I know Mr. Mancuso put together a really nice drawing. I think there were a lot of things that people liked about that to be considered, but just starting with water, sewer, electric, and contemplating where a bathroom would go would be super. So getting something started there.
I agree with needing to put restrooms down there probably first, but I think we need to somehow have like the whole plan together. Maybe we need to at some point get a committee of people together that want to actually plan and organize that whole thing. Have a plan, somebody that's actually going to do the work. So if we can get that together, I'm 100% on board with that. But I think right now, I don't know, we don't have that plan together yet. So, and I know I like some of Chris's ideas, and I like some of the other things we've seen. So, the master plan for parks has some stuff in there. So there's lots to consider, but I don't want us to put a restroom down there like we've put other things down there kind of without a plan. So I would rather just say let's put the whole thing down in a plan and then do it in phases. Phase 1, restrooms. And that's kind of how I see that going. So I'm kind of okay with it not being in there this time for right now until we have that group assembled or people that are going to lead that project.
Well, maybe, that might be a good thing to at least consider, is just setting some money aside this year to hire, an engineering design firm to actually come up with that final design and work with the city. I think that would be a really good use of some of the, funds that we have for this year.
And you don't need 25,000.
Probably not. If we're going to ask them to do
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can come up with a ballpark number there, but if we're going to ask them to come up with, a full design for that park that we can phase out, it's probably going to be more than 25,000.
So this, speaks to, how in the end we'll get this stuff done, right? So in the end, to get this stuff done, you would make a move, right? Not tonight, but down the road, you would make a move. And let's just say, for example, I'd like to add $25,000 to that line item, right? And maybe say that engineering would be $50,000. But at that time, you would then have to say where you wanted to take it from, or if you wanted to bring in an additional $25,000 from capital reserve, right? So if you say, because obviously that's a capital project, then we would increase the capital reserve line item by an additional $25,000, and that makes the revenues and the expenditure balance. Well, when you do that, you just have to keep in mind, it's a two-step process.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I just want everybody to be clear.
I just have one question about that. I understand exactly this would be a capital project and it makes the most sense to do it the way you're saying, but is it possible also to change the carryover, because, you know, you have 300 some,
Well, I mean, what happens is when we allocate the carryover, then we could say, when that allocation happens, that an additional 25,000. Or I could change the carryover and just say it could be 475. Right now,
yeah, that's what I'm
You
asking.
could do it either way. So you could say, I think that the carryover is gonna be $25,000 more. Or you could say, I'm gonna bring in $25,000. So it really doesn't.
So
I don't
you,
like to go too high with that.
no, and I understand that. I'm just trying to understand the parameters. That you have two different line items in which you can kind of balance things out, so that we have to get to a balanced budget at the end. But there seems to be, you know, we have a lot in capital reserves, plus we have a significant carryover. So we have opportunities to, you know, okay. Just want to make sure.
So, that's the plan. So when we get to the point where we're voting, and then it should go smoothly.
Okay. That's all I had on that one, Mayor.
Where do you want to go next?
Well, my next thing is 417. I don't think you've gotten there yet, so.
Okay, fine. So you're good with 410, 411, 413.
I spoke to him.
I'm sorry,
I spoke to that department, so.
413. So we're to 416 now, which is the police judge. There are no changes in the police judge. That line item stays constant, so there's no changes there. 417 is our city attorney. There was a slight increase there in the professional services. Russ added some extra money in that line item, thinking that maybe there was going to have to be some outside attorney brought in for some of the things that are going on. So he added an extra few dollars to that for that line item.
That was my question, Mayor. I mean, are we anticipating pending litigation? I know Parkersburg is being sued over the sober living home ordinance that they passed, and we passed the exact same ordinance.
We're not anticipating any lawsuits. We've not had any put on our radar, but we do have an issue. We've had several issues come up recently with contracts and what have you that Russ felt like maybe he needed some expertise.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
So, okay. 417, 418, city auditor.
I believe the only change in that is longevity.
Okay. 422 is personnel.
I had a question about that.
Excuse me. Are you, any comments?
I only
Waiting to
added-
see what the question is. Okay.
I only added $35 to increase the membership.
That's okay. Yeah, it wasn't about that. I was just curious, under line 30, contract services, what exactly the $47,000, what is that for?
Well, it goes from the Ohio Valley Medical to do our agreement with an agency or consulting for this type of thing. We do have a safety group that also does safety training, safety audits, so anything like that is large goes into
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't, because I know there are different part-time workers around the city for different things. That
No,
those are
it has
all in their
nothing to do
departments.
with that.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with
Thank you.
that. You're welcome.
423, purchasing.
Remain the same. Do you have any questions with purchasing?
431, newsletter. The difference in the newsletter is the increased cost of postage. So, all right. 435, Mid-Ohio Valley Regional Council. They did do a dues increase. The regional council fee is based on the number of citizens that live in Vienna. So you'll see that that increase went up based on the fact that they voted to do an increase. 436 is the building inspector. The thing changed, less than $2,000. Well, actually, $2,050. So, there are no changes to the budget itself. It has to be in Amy's longevity and,
Longevity, FICA taxes.
okay?
So Amy, the two employees there, right? It's Mr. Knapp and Mr. Flutie.
And Sean.
Oh, and okay,
Sorry, the second.
okay, okay. I didn't realize that. That helps me.
Sorry. Administrative assistant.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine. So there's actually three folks on the salary line, payroll line. Okay. Do you know? Well, I kind of wish one of those guys was here, but never mind. I'm not going to ask the question.
Oh.
Thank you.
I'm sure he'd be happy to.
Yeah, I'll contact him later.
437 is planning and zoning. The difference there is the postage item.
Yes, he asked for an additional $500 because he has to send out notices to neighborhoods if something is happening in zoning. He has to contact people in the neighborhood, let them know something.
Okay. The next is our first contribution, which is the Mid-Ohio Valley Fellowship Home. That is $3,500, the same as it has been. Data processing, that amount is down almost $30,000.
I have a few questions about this one.
Okay, we'll get right to you, Chris. Sit
Yeah.
tight. I'm sorry.
Scary.
No, I understand that, but when I look down through the numbers,
There should be a reduction in contract services and then capital outlays are going down.
there's nothing in the line item for contract services. Line item number 30.
Right. He doesn't use contract services. He used professional services.
Okay, I'm sorry, so go back up. Yeah, that's the 11,000 that I see.
Well,
I can't account for the other besides the 11,000. There's slight differences up in the top
that's
for the first 10
capital
items.
outlay. Capital outlay from 40 to 16,000.
There it is, down at the bottom. I got you. All right. Okay, questions for Garrett?
Yeah, so I guess a couple of questions. How many folks are you, I guess, are you the IT director then?
I would say I'm the acting director. I do all the paperwork and all the administrative for the IT department now.
Okay,
We did get a new person hired on just there in December. And now we're back to a two-man team.
okay. So the, under the salary then, that's for two folks. Was that, I guess, going back to previous years, is that always for two folks, including an IT director?
Yes.
Okay. I guess if we hire an IT director, or if you end up, I mean, I'm not quite sure how that process works for an IT director, but then will we have 3 people under the IT director
Right.
or IT positions?
I would assume it's the senior person that I would be up for the promotion. If it was a third person, I would imagine they would have that. Anyway, 50 to 60,000 for a director position for IT.
Okay.
We will not be adding a third person to the IT department.
Okay.
I have not had a chance to speak with Garrett, but Garrett will be offered the position of IT director. He has assumed that role very well for the last year, and I believe that he's comfortable with our system now and understands a lot of the process. And I've seen him work with the other IT person, and I believe that he can handle that job. Okay, but 2 is all we need.
Yeah, that's kind of just the clarification that I was asking for there. If we were to ever, I guess, if we were to hire an IT director that wasn't Garrett, how would that work? So, and then I guess my question for professional services, it seems like that, dropped significantly. What's the change there?
Mostly just in the plan for the coming year, professional services, in my mind, is things like climbing water towers, communication towers, digging tunnels for new network. We have no need for any of that in the coming year. The remaining amount is mostly just for emergency services. Should something catastrophic happen, we have the funds there available to do something within a critical amount of time. Otherwise, I have no giant plans to make any changes, dig anything new.
Okay. Okay, and then I guess kind of following up with that too, I know that the capital outlay for equipment has dropped significantly, and I know that we've had issues. The capital outlay for equipment has dropped significantly, and I know that we've had issues. All right, just a second.
Sorry, I was listening all the way. Sorry for being late.
So I guess my question there is, I want to make sure that we have enough funds there to cover everything, because I know that at the last budget season, when I was kind of paying attention to things, it seemed like there was a lot of computer equipment and things that needed to be replaced. And so that $16,500 just seems pretty insignificant to me. Are we sure that that's enough?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. That was actually, they talked me into increasing it more. I had that much lower than the initial budget conversation.
Okay.
In my mind, we already have the 50. Previous year, we already had budgeted for a completely new computer refresh, as well as a substantial amount of security cameras for the city.
Mm-hmm.
We've already have plans to order those, and those are going to more than take care of all the computers that we have. In fact, a lot of the computers that we're replacing are still usable and will be placed in other fire department needs just extra computers. But
okay,
most of our equipment is still usable. It's not like we need to recycle it. It's just there's a few problem computers we need to replace, and we're going way beyond that from last year, so we're allowed for it.
okay,
So going into the next year, this should be enough to replace any computers that suddenly break way beyond that we would need. The 10 computers in my mind.
okay,
The cameras that may be damaged as far as weather.
yeah,
The current year's budget, most of that is getting replaced, so
okay,
the new stuff is going to break all the time.
yeah, sure. Because I know in the capital outlay, some of the notes were about fixing some of the audio in here, and then replacing some cameras throughout. So the one question I had was, do we have in the plan to repair that kind of, that emergency phone that's been broken at McDonough Park for
Yes, there is plans
a long time?
going forth, yes, that
Okay.
has been a big pain in my side for a while now. Just kind of getting some help from our internet provider. Apparently, an emergency phone with a single box inside it is too much of a and so we have gone other ways to other providers to sidestep the phone completely.
Okay.
If that will fix the problem, then hopefully that will be fixed very soon. In my mind, things are going now with this frontier that get us phone service out to that.
Okay.
So I just had a follow-up question, a couple on that, on the computers. Last year, the former IT director had spoke about a rotation schedule for the computers and for the cameras. So are you adhering to that schedule, or have you developed your own schedule?
The schedule he was referring to was a very old one from actually the previous director from before him. He had not updated that one for a while, so he was going off an outdated one when he was IT director. as far as I know, there is no proper schedule anymore. The one that was documented is last refreshed, not the current ones we have now. They're being refreshed again. In my mind, I'm not going to replace every single computer in the city every single year or even 2 years. I'd much rather do it in chunks of, let's say, half the city's computers. And we might get people who have call me constantly. They have problems with their computers. They're at the top of my list, and that's about 6 people. I have budgets now for about 20 computers total that need replaced. That's 14 more perfectly usable computers, all in the same age as all the other computers. So we're not having any issues, computers failing, unable to do what we need to do. Those computers are still good for another budget cycle. In my mind, once we have replacing coming next year, about the same amount in my mind, another 15,000. But replace those as well, with small chunks at a time instead of everything.
Okay, because, so I make sure I understand. So you were saying you're replacing 14 computers right now?
It'd be about 20 in total. 6 which need, in my mind, they have regular problems they need to be replaced with the current funds I have in this budget year. Going into the next one, funds allocated here that go down another 10, 9 or 10 there, depending on the situation.
Right, I mean, 'cause I think I probably share the same thought as Chris. I mean, hate to see us get behind on that type of rotation of computers. And I know that just going by what was discussed last year, I think it was something like 52 computers total that, and he wanted to replace 25 of them then, and I don't really know where we ended up with that. So that's why I was.
Yeah, it's from the budget over in, that's a little less than half the computers. More than I think we do it. It is good to stay ahead of it, and I think the current fund that's already going to happen.
Okay.
And coming in the next budget year, we're still going to go even with the lesser amount. It's still going to keep us over ahead of the curve, so to speak, on computers getting outdated or failing due to extensive use.
So you brought up something else about internet service provider, which made me think of the Segra issues that we've had. So is Segra really the only internet provider we have?
Yeah, they provide most of our internet. We do have a few other providers here and there for the sign up on Grand Central, our digital sign. We have for them. But for the most part, Segra is like all of our physical buildings. They are the primary.
So Segra has been the the sticking point in getting that emergency phone.
Yeah, not to go into too much detail on it, pretty much the phone we bought comes with its own equipment that is different than the one Segra uses. Essentially, it does the same thing, it's just a different brand, and they have been unable to come with the engineering department to give me the settings or even have them configure it themselves. Unable to do that, and so we've just been butting heads like, I need to get this fixed.
Yeah.
They don't know how to get it fixed, and so it's gotten to a point where then we're just going to sidestep you completely and use something provided.
Yeah, well, I mean, that phone's been down for a really long time. It may have even been down since before Segra's on the, or I don't know that to be true or not, but I just would like to see that. Somebody who uses that park and, my family members who use that park, I would like to see that done. To me, it's a safety concern. It's a priority. And so, wish you the best of luck because it sounds like it's been an issue, but I'm glad to see that you're focused on getting it fixed. Thank you.
We're done with data processing. 440 City Hall.
City Hall, I believe the only thing there were a couple things that were increased. The postage was increased, and just a minor increase in materials and supplies, just because the cost of paper and just multiple things that run this building come out of that account. And because of increased costs, I raised that $500 and postage $500.
In the utilities were raised slightly.
Yes, utilities.
Okay. So that's the only thing in City Hall. 445 is the health department. That is the amount that we contribute to them each year as our share of being part of the county network. Okay.
Plus, the street department has, some amounts in that line item. Correct, correct?
Yeah, actually. 66.
Yeah, I read, well, last year they had requested 6,000, and for some reason, only in the budget for 4,800, they requested 6,000 again, and so I put it in the budget for 6,000.
Okay. 446 is the animal warden. That is our contribution to the Humane Society. $450 is Kids First program. That is the $3,500 contribution that we've made for the last several years. Police Department, Chief Piper.
There's just a couple changes here in mine. I put what you see there on your sheet. I can answer questions. So I guess I can start with the salaries and wages. The mayor mentioned that a civilian investigator position. You recall last time presented. Right now we have over 21 officers. We're still short. I thought we could fill our ranks, utilize the cops grant, maybe get even a 22nd position. After talking to Amy, and she had that plugged in there last year in case we got that. We had that kind of discussion with that, which led into the cars. Remember, I said we're going to be an officer in cars. So we just, on that, I'd like to take for that 22nd position and see if we can do something else. Should have some opportunities.
Chief, what are you at right now? You're at
We're sitting at 19.
19?
Yes, still. We have 21 spaces, so, just to be honest, just the last few years has been a series of civil service exams. Yeah, we're going through them quicker than we ever have, it's not a VM problem. So that's the difference there. You see some, in line item 11, the telephone, and that's partly due to that Sabre cost plugged in there. Okay, we saw it jump in what we paid for our phone service, internet service and whatnot. So there's some changes over that here in the recent year or so. Cell phone stipends now, for our officers and that kind of stuff. So I can go more on equipment maintenance, line item 16. That one's up just a little bit. I'm asking for $2,000 there for. It just seems like all of our equipment is in the future transferring to a annual fee, annual maintenance fee. That's what these companies have figured out. They got you, so maybe it keeps them rolling. And we're kind of still just moving into that direction. I think it's natural. There's nothing we can keep from it, in my opinion. That one's largely because of our in-car video cameras. Okay, so they are not discontinuing the line that we're running. They have a new line that requires an annual fee, so it's going to be some more money there. So that's fairly marginal now. As we keep increasing and we get rid of the old and the new starts coming in, that number will probably increase a little more next time if we get another cruiser or two or whatever because you're adding those. So, and I'm just highlighting the changes. That's okay. Line item 17, the auto maintenance. Parts are more expensive to maintain vehicles. Asking for a $3,000 increase there. And I think for a city police fleet to have under $20,000. So Legal publications, the line item 20, that's just, I just wanted some money in there so we can advertise some sort of tests and some different outlets. We tried Facebook, so that's little training and education, really minor increase there. Dues and subscriptions, that one on there, that one is line item 22, and it was, I mean, it's a $6,000 increase, and that was just because the, as you can recall, or if you recall, we started the TIP 411 app for the public, to download the police app, which we do use it quite a bit for public works notifications, so to the public, we received tips that way. That renewal we back up, so that was $5,400 for 2 years. Was what the cost of that software was. It's going to be up this year. So that's that. So if we want to keep that going, that's what
Chief, how much is that app being used? You mentioned Public Works, but not notices.
I do get like a monthly report. I mean, as far as the, as far as the push notifications, as far as the police department, I don't use very many push notifications. If it is like a press release or something, we may do that type thing. But I think if we did get into a situation where we needed to notify the public quickly on an environmental issue or whatever, 911 has the ability to notify people as well, but that would be a really good thing for us to notify emergency stuff to people. So,
how many people are subscribed to this?
I'll have to look. It's a few hundred. And we've tried, I advertise from time to time, so to speak, on social media, or anytime we do a press release, I'll include that at the end if it's in print or not or whatever. So,
yeah, I'm not calling it out, but I'm it's always been my opinion. We spend money on what's utilized, right? Senior tour buses, whatever it might be. And so I would ask that you just keep it. Are we getting a return? Or because this is a substantial amount of money, and the police budget keeps going up. And so if ever it appears to you that this just doesn't seem to be cutting it or worth it,
I wish it would have taken off faster, in my opinion. I really thought by this point, which we're 2 years in,
right?
I thought we would have.
I think you get some indifference on that kind of
You
thing. So, just if it ever seems like it's not generating a return, I'd ask you reconsider.
The other thing, though, when I presented, and you can imagine I guess it's hard to quantify an anonymity on a true tip when somebody sends it in. It's like, I know the police got it. The public is very concerned if it's I won't find out. So I get that. And this does scrub information. It's legit. I mean, I get it. But it's completely anonymous, and there are people, and that's a good thing. And there has been occasions where this application does allow us to enter into conversation with the tipster, which we can need more information. So, to quantify it, I really don't know. I was hoping for more. But then that's something up to you, the first string. So I can give you exact numbers if you want to see, like,
I don't.
Like how many tips but that's kind of, what I mean. It's but I do get a automated monthly report on.
And I think if you get, if people, for example, one anonymous tip could be worth a year's worth of those expenses.
Sure.
That's just it.
I was hoping
generating a
for more.
return.
I mean, that's my honest opinion. I thought it would really.
Mainly, I was curious.
But it is good. Craig will tell you he uses it, and that's something that's required.
It is. It's through the Public Service Commission and Department of Health. We're required to notify residents and stuff as we can to issues with water systems, and we use that as our approach. So it's I like to keep it.
And when I presented, that goes for all the city departments. I know it's to be in a seal is what it shows on the tip, but that's not just exclusive for the police department.
I use it, and I find it to be very helpful, especially for water breaks because unfortunately they happen, and it saved me a time or two, you know.
Preparation. So that was 22, and then really all the way down we get into capital outlay. I did have 2 cruisers with equipment in there.
That's actually 4.
I'm sorry.
That's 4 cars.
Okay.
Because we discussed the fact that you probably aren't going to get the 2
Right.
that
So
you needed for this year.
correct. So the money was in there. I trying to get 2. There's a huge delay right now on police cruisers. I've been in contact several times with the car dealership who got the bid, and he is like, I'll let you know as soon as they hit manufacturing. I've been in contact with Amy and said, please let me know. It's a big deal for us, which fiscal year it's in. Doesn't look good for fiscal year we're in right now. So it could be, I'd like to get 2 more theoretically next year, which is why it could be all the money.
But you also see like his line item 19 went down because he is all the cars that we financed are phasing out. They're being paid for. So the first year with those payments are in line 59. That gets them on our depreciation schedule, on our fixed asset schedule, and then in the years after that, the payments for those vehicles go into line item 19.
Just to add there to those comments too, the additional funds at 59 pulled through that's are up again. They're on 5-year rotation by manufacturer specs. So getting several of those wrapped it up.
Chief, we had a conversation today about the box that you've placed in various neighborhoods around the city. Yeah. What was the cost of that box? Don't quote me on this one. I was thinking it was $2,500, $3,500, and what the mayor is referring to was a radar recorder, and what a radar recorder was, and we paid for this hardware and software both, but the radar recorder would help us address vehicle traffic complaints, okay? Most of the time it's, hey, the car's speeding through my neighborhood, whatever, we could put up the radar recorder, which visually there isn't a whole lot to look at here, it looks like a trip cam type thing. And it would just record number of vehicles, speeds of vehicles, like that. Like videos of people driving or anything like that. It just gave you sheer numbers. From those numbers, it would evaluate the information for you and basically identify if there is really a speed problem. I did kind of like that because I think it was a fair assessment. You know, when you put up a radar trailer, so to speak, and it shows you the number, people go slower. You put a policeman down there to count, people go slower than a police car. With the radar recorder, people generally just drive how they normally would. So you can quickly tell with a couple of days of data that if there really is a problem, which would then, if there is, start the traffic. Did you?
Have you had time to identify? I mean, have you identified any areas where there was a problem?
You know, most of the time, a little bit. Most of the time, I think it's exaggerated from the data I saw. And in Vienna, after we really start digging in, many times it's the same vehicle that someone's upset with. You know, so that truck comes through here all the time, and so finally you get down to that. But it's a great, it's a tool. It isn't an end all be all for every traffic problem, but it's a tool that I can use to present to the complainant. Say, hey, let's take a look. How many cars are coming through? What the speeds of the cars? Each lane forward, the cars are going north, the cars are going south, whatever. It would identify and sort that for you.
So you already have the recorders. You have how many of them, and do you rotate them, or what's the?
We had one. That company completely discontinued the software, which was all the annual maintenance fee, so it was basically, you had to buy everything over again, which, we did have a hiccup with a former IT getting that software working. The company did send us a demo of the new software, tested out for a few days, and we never got it.
So then that is in the budget for
That is
the,
not.
okay.
That is not.
Okay.
It was a good tool for the public.
It was a great tool for the public because, that's one of the complaints that I get all the time. And so I obviously go back to the chief. And when you put that thing out there, it's like one, and all the rest of them are doing the absolute speed limit, and it's the numbers. But the other thing that was very valuable, the traffic count. It will tell you how many.
That surprised me. Every time we put it up, I mean, it could be on 55th Street or, an avenue or something like that. Many cars go through there. And it's amazing how many cars are going on our streets. And we all know Grand Central's busy, we got 46th Street busy, 23rd, but when you actually just do the sheer number of vehicles traveling both ways, it's a big number, a lot bigger than you think.
So is that something that you would like to add back into the budget, or how?
That's a great tool, and I can get you an exact number on that.
Just by next week. Okay? All right, thank you. Anything else for the police department?
Yes.
Yes, sir, Tom?
I've talked to a couple people in your business, and you never have enough. We don't have enough policemen. We don't have enough people applying, and I could be all wrong, but I think the reason you don't is it's a dangerous job. The environment today is, I don't think it's necessarily in Vienna, but all over the country, is the attitude's bad. And I think the reason you don't get more applicants is you don't pay them enough money. And I don't know what that magic number is, but probably if you pay them $100,000 a year, that's it.
I'd say you surely would. We've always, in Vienna, at times we make excellent strides, but we have always compared ourselves to surrounding agencies, and tried to stay a step ahead, at least a step ahead. And the money, of course, I'd say with any profession, obviously would help with applicants. I don't know the answer to that. If there's so many factors that go into this issue, I think we would, to actually show numbers like we're talking about, I think it would probably have to be something significant. I mean, we did last, I just came to council about the certified officers, that, and we got a certified officer. That's it right here. That was excellent. That was a big deal for us. So yeah, that's something. But it's just the profession. Well, that's a lot. It's just one.
One of my personality flaws is I always think I'm right.
I can tell you that I have looked at the numbers, and across the board, additional 65 cents, which would make $1 pay raise for employees, would be approximately $63,000.
But I'm not talking about, I'm talking about a substantial increase. I have a grandson that's in the military and has a very, very dangerous job. And he makes a lot, he's an E5. He makes a lot more than most E5s. While I was in, I worked in the pay office, it wasn't very dangerous. But,
Paper cuts.
I didn't do nothing. But I think I'm talking about throw out a number, $12,000 more a year, or 20,000. You're gonna have to start paying these guys, or they ain't gonna do it. And I think it's justified in giving them a substantial amount of more money, because it ain't like working in the pay office. And I think if we're gonna look to the future, we're going, not only in Vienna, everywhere, they're gonna have to start paying.
Well, I think.
And I think we need to look to that objective.
I agree with you. I do. I think it's going to have to be a discussion with everybody sitting up there. I mean, you're looking at somebody here. I'll nod my head yes for you every time. I agree, and that would be substantial. And it's going to take probably that type of mindset in order, and then everybody will generally have to follow, or you leave the other agencies in the dust. Somebody eventually. But I mean, I agree. I don't know tonight we're getting.
No, I don't think we're going to do it tonight.
Yeah.
But I think while we're talking budgets, I think we ought to keep that in mind for the future.
Absolutely.
Because if a guy's working in a pay office or he's fighting in Afghanistan, the guy in Afghanistan is going to make substantially more money. I rest my case.
All right, anything else for the police
I
department?
have a couple of questions. On talking about pay, under line 7, contributions to pensions, you have $430,000 in there, and I've noticed in the last couple budget cycles we've been well under that. At one point, over $120,000 under that. Is that
So that number is, it's not easy to calculate. It depends on how many officers you have. Like this year, we're sitting at 19. Depends on how many officers you're sitting at June 30th, when that actuarial report is done. Right? You have to send in all your census, how old everybody is, goes to the actuary, and they spit out a number. But it depends on how many officers you have at the time. Last June 30th, we were sitting at 17. It's a big effect. You add 2 people, you think that won't make a big difference, but it does. Your salaries is another component to that. It's, they come up with what they call a normal cost. Right now, the normal cost is sitting somewhere around 23% of your salaries.
okay?
Is what our contribution is. So you bring in more people, the salaries go up, your contribution goes up. The city is the only maker up of that dollar amount. We have the state amount that goes into that figure. We have the amount our investments make, which isn't great right now. And the city, what the officers themselves put in towards the plan. And then the city contribution. The city contribution is the only thing that can make up any of that difference.
Is the state's contribution, is that
That's the insurance premium surtax.
So
we make our contribution, it gets certified, we send it to the state that says we've made our contribution, they send us our insurance premium surtax.
okay, so that number's going to change just depending on.
It does change.
Okay.
But the state calculates that.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just want to make sure. I'm glad you answered that because obviously we're 2 officers down and.
Really complicated.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Calculation, and really difficult to predict.
Sure. I mean, there's just a lot of play in there, so I was just curious about it. And which brings me to my question, number 50, line 59. Am I understanding this $91,200 is for the financing of 2 vehicles plus I think added?
The financing of.
Okay, now I'm really confused.
Well, so the chief wanted 2 vehicles in this budget year. That's why we went out for bid. We got prices on Durangos, but he thinks there's no way those Durangos are going to come in. Okay, so I had a conversation with him. I said, how about I build in the payments for next year? So that's what I did. That's for 4 cars. We don't think we're gonna get the 2 this year. If we do get the 2 this year, then he'll only get 2 next year.
Okay, because that's why it's confusing, because I saw under this revision under the capital expenditure request that you had the 2 police cruisers and equipment taken off.
No, I just had it
I'm sorry, I mean, I must not be reading it correctly, because it says removed request, 80,726.
Yeah, that's the amount that in financing that it goes down to. We can finance it for 3 years. The only amount of the budget is the $45,600. So he originally requested $126,000 for 2 cruisers. But when you finance that, you remove $80,000. That just is payments over the next 2 years, and then you're left with $45,600 in payments for next year.
That was my question. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. The fire chief is out of town this evening, so Finance Director, would you please take us through the fire department?
The change in salaries is basically for a safety inspector that is requested. Honestly, I don't know a ton about the position. I think you could probably take the position more than I could.
I'll do that when you.
Either, go ahead.
I don't care. I mean, what we're hoping for the fire department is to have another fireman on duty during the day. And we have so many businesses that we need to routinely do inspections. We're going to call them safety inspections, but there'll be a set of guidelines that, you know, when they walk in, you know, unsafe conditions, things along those lines. It is not a full-blown fire inspection because there's a very detailed procedure for that. So these will be safety inspections, but there are more businesses that we have than we could do in an entire year. So we will schedule them out, but we will rotate them so that we inspect all of our businesses for safety. And so that's the point of having the inspector, so that we can get those inspections done and have an additional man on the clock during the day in case we have a fire call.
Would that just be fire inspections? As it relates to fire or general safety?
It's safety, general safety, Tom.
The guys that are working in a particular business, if we look for safety flaws that could hurt them physically, not necessarily a fire.
I'll give you a perfect example of that. Most times when we go in, everybody uses a closet to store stuff. They just do. Well, if you've got a bunch of boxes that are stacked up in front of your electrical box where you can't get to it in a hurry, that's a problem. And so that's one of the things that he would point out and say, hey, you need to have a clear pathway to this electric box in case you need to turn the power off in a hurry. That's just one example, but I'll bet you that we're all guilty of that. I know I am. And if my wife had to go hit a switch in my garage, she'd have a hard time. You know, I can reach it, but she's not as tall as I am. So, but that's the point of that, is there's a lot of circumstances that would be brought to their attention.
So a quick question on that, and you might not, I can ask the chief this as well. Is that something that they can actually write up like a violation for, or is that just like a, hey, you should probably do this kind of a thing?
Typically what would happen, I believe, is if, for lack of a better word, find a violation, I think that the protocol would be to write it up for them, not as much as in a violation, but as a safety suggestion, and possibly indicate to them that, you know, we'd like to come back in 30 days or whatever to see if you've fixed your dangerous area.
Yeah. Okay.
There would be a report for every one of these inspections.
Yeah, I guess that was my
And
question.
so we would maintain a database to say, hey, we inspected you last year and you were noted for these same conditions. You know, so yes, there's going to be some information gathered on this.
Okay. And you mentioned too that they would be basically another like fire, they would respond to emergencies as well if that were necessary.
one of the things, Chris, we've been concerned about for a good while now is the lack of manpower. And when you look at volunteerism in general, it's just not the fire service, but the fire service sure is affected by it. Is down. I mean, let's face it, our culture is different, our demographics are different. You know, we've got more people that you know, are single parents, or, you know, working more than one job, or, you know, whatever. And it they don't feel they have the time to commit to what it takes to do that job. The ones that do it well. But the numbers is down, and you know, when we look at our daytime shift, if we call it, you know, most of our firefighters work day shift, and so there is times and there's areas in the day where, you know, we get a fire call, you know, we could be hurting. I mean, the response is, you know, very thin, at no fault of their own. So in thinking about this and kind of working on it, you know, the thought is as the mayor explained, is to have this position to be able to put another firefighter on an engine when it goes out the door, plus make the position a productive position. You know, not just, you know, sit on the couch and watch TV until, you know, the fire beeper goes off, but make them productive and utilize them for these safety inspections. And you know, we got to start somewhere with the manpower situation. It's just imperative that we do that. And this is not going to fix everything, but it would be a start. You know, I mean, it's having that additional person on duty to be able to respond.
I have a question. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I really support it. And I've had a chance to speak with Chief Scholl when I first came on board, and he definitely expressed, you know, some of the pains of not having enough people. But did I miss the salary in here somewhere? I didn't see it, how much that's going to be.
I believe it's $22 an hour.
Okay, and that's full-time?
Yes.
Okay. And I have another question. I don't know why this always confuses me, but I'm going to ask it just so we're on the same page. So, once again, that line 59, so we are getting a new fire truck, and there's 5 months worth of payments will come out of there for 52.5. Is that correct? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And so this, you know, fire truck is due in February. We spoke with the manufacturer. It won't be any sooner than
Okay.
February of next year.
Anything else under the fire department? All right, then we'll move on.
Recycling and wash, basically. The amount we take in, we pay out. And it's been a little higher. We should have bumped it up before now, but I have not, but I took care of it.
Recycling? So we go to parks. Mr. Black.
So the mayor indicated mine is different this year. 541 recreation, everything involved with the upkeep of the facilities, the fields, everything involved with recreation is now part of 540 parks, which was pretty much based on this current year. So look at this. Okay. these, for example, utilities. Right? Keep it simple. So much for the parks, so much for the recreation part of it in the past, which in the case of so there's nothing really, in my opinion, out of line with this. I get to have it here. Capital outlay items. The first one is paving the community building parking lot. Kind enough to provide that number for me. It's in disrepair. These guys do a pretty good job at patching this, but it's at the point where it needs repaying. Put in for 2 more playground pieces, the exercise pieces, down adjacent to the seniors. And it actually, the way we're starting to change, I'm seeing more and more people utilizing that. I see a lot of moms after they drop their kids off to school in the morning before they pick them up. Middle school has come down, some of their gym classes about this. Sharing marks, things are track kids down. A lot of people use these things. So there's actually room for 2 more pieces. That's all about. 2 replacement bridges in the park. We got 2 bridges coming through 4th Street. And they were built for every bill. And they're not safe. We want something ADA compliant. Better structures, which I didn't send anybody anything. Pass this around, just looking at these are some ideas. These kits, one be almost 70,000, the other is going to be over 50,000 based on the length. But there's a variety of things to think about. Hear complaints from time to time, people, little dogs. The one closest to the dog park, that's on the it's not. Dogs don't want to walk across those things. Kids are always trying to lean over to see if there's a snake or fish. I've never heard of anything falling in, but I just don't want to take that chance. So that is it with the parks. And that one, I think we have a walk behind mower. We have one that basically we're using for parts on other things. And this is primarily for the trails, places where we've got trees that we've got to navigate some of the other parks. So that would be a replacement. And that's it.
Are the bridges you're talking about, is it 158 somewhere yard?
Yes. And they're kids. Now, part of it, obviously, we're going to have to get out. Not only shipping, but also installation. Liability, responsible. But there's others as well. This is just something that I write down based on. If you recall, also in the master plan, that was one of his thoughts. And really, if I hear complaints from people, which are rare, it's the bridges. And for me, I'm not a really huge guy, but when I walk across those things, the rails are about a bit high. If I take a stumble, so there'd be ADA.
Anything else for parks?
I have something. By the way, I'm very excited about the bridges. I think that's very necessary. So, you probably, I don't know that you know the answer to this question, but I couldn't find in this budget any money for the new baseball fields that we're doing, where the trailer was.
Actually, the trailer is in the process. It's where it needs to be, and we're taking care of that. And there is money in the budget for that. But as far as baseball fields, I have nothing at this point. I mean, a lot of the work I think is going to be able to be done in-house. So we know there's costs associated with that. I can't tell you how much.
I mean, that's what I'm curious about. It seems like, money for fencing, backstops, all of that.
It would primarily be from field 5 and 6. The dugouts, we could probably disassemble and/or somehow build those because they're just secure concrete pads. The bleachers, we do those things as well. When it comes to the fences, it may be something we'd have to get professional to do that because I don't think they're really good. I know what happened in the dog park. The tree fell on the fence. We tried to repair it temporarily. And we used to get the orange fence to keep people away. So my guys are not fence people. And I do know I'm actually on a wait list. It's also take care of this budget. On the ball fields, the fencing was curling. And it was just really bad behind home plate. Balls get stuck over there. Some kids come back for foul ball and get the foot caught. Actually, I'm on a list. It's been 2 months for him to come. I've had to take care of it. So he's having a hard time getting product. And this is just fence company that's incredible work.
Is there any possibility those fields will not be in that location that we anticipate? Because, there's been some work done around Sled Hill, and so the rumor mill, you know how it goes. So I'm curious, is that still going to be the spot?
This time,
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I was doing around the sleigh ride courses of Public Works. That is to correct some drainage issues along the walking trail and it goes up to
So we're still anticipating the fields are going to go where the trailer wasn't. Okay, well, I'm just trying to get an answer. I mean,
There's a flooding issue that from all our tanks overflowed. The culvert is you go up the walking trail. That culvert's plugged. We're trying to work that water into the improved storm drain system, which is a most of the walking trail. In that ravine, because if there were cutting up trees or brushes, that is to install a culvert that goes up through more as a silt dam.
I'll answer your question.
Okay.
So I've asked Tim to put me on the agenda for the park board meeting on Wednesday. There are some options that have presented themselves, which I'm going to share with Tim and the rest of the park board and explain to them the different options that are there. Some elevation issues have presented themselves down on the bottom. And so up next to the sleigh riding hill, there are some options up there. But honestly, it depends on which direction the park board thinks would be in the best interest of the park, because both of them have pluses and both of them have minuses. And so, we'll see what the park board has to say about that once we explain the different possibilities. So neither one of those gentlemen is trying to avoid your question. It's just that decision has not been made yet.
Sure.
Okay.
Understandable. Had one more comment about parks and the restrooms at McDonough Park. They're getting kind of, obviously it's not in this budget, but when do you anticipate it's going to make it into a budget?
I put it in last year and then I really feel that the things that asked for this time around, especially the parking lot, is the top priority next year. And then the year after that, we need help with Russ on the BMX restaurant. That would be the next one. But that was built with federal funds or something.
Land and water.
Yeah.
For everything. We were also, just real quick, I want to add something what Craig said. The drainage, what they're putting in, the current stuff is almost 15 feet deep. I actually contacted an old rec guy who said that's where a lot of BMX stuff is. So that was taken out. Just couldn't figure out why my city would have married a drain that
I have a question. A while back, Craig gave me an education on paving versus resealing. Would the parking lot there around the community building, is it an option to just reseal it? Because I think in the master parks plan, there's been some discussion about whether or not we would leave the community building in an existing space and have the same footprint or that kind of thing. So I kind of wouldn't want to repave a whole parking lot if we might consider doing something different with the community building. What are you seeing with that? Okay.
Beyond that, so
Okay.
what we looked at is the simple wearing portion of the light. I know you have future plans there, so don't waste too much money, so we're going to change that wearing portion of the light.
Okay.
Not a full base replacement that actually needs, but
Okay.
get through for
I agree with both of those fellows. When you deal with paving, it's what we call alligator. If you look at the back of an alligator, how it's all sectioned off, that thing's going to come up in chunks. You're going to end up with potholes, and it doesn't make any difference how much seal coating you put on top of that. It's a minimal glue, but as soon as the traffic wears it down, you're going to have whole chunks of that come up. And so the wearing course will obviously allow its longevity to be better. Okay, yeah, that seal coating won't help this one. We're past that.
So two questions from my side. I know you probably don't have this either, but as far as alongside the baseball fields, with developing the soccer fields and stuff, are we anticipating much in development as far as creating the soccer fields down there, or is that kind of in tandem with the baseball?
the last that I've really heard was a park board, Jeff Slasher, that they were interested in looking at an engineer to do a real study, because that whole area is so then
Okay. Okay.
but I do think at this point, the fields 1, 2, and 3 were used coordinate sometimes 5 a week. The plan is at least 6 days a week. Possibly some days as well. So it just having extra days doubles the usage. I mean, so it can handle the traffic.
And just kind of so I can wrap my head around it, because I was looking at it, and with the VRIA no longer being kind of in our budget, from what I could tell, it looks like the city is actually kind of saving a little bit of money at this point because of how all of that stuff has worked out. Is that correct? Did I read
There were
that?
actually some things that, now it would be the RIA's responsibility that were included in the recreation budgets in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, so right now it's gonna be made,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, because I guess that was just, I wanted to see if we had any kind of clarification or delineation there now as to like what they're responsible for paying for versus what the city is. And
I've had various conversations with Chuck Mossinger, and he got, Amy, you know, the numbers and some different things, and he just
okay.
wanted to make sure they were understanding what I was saying.
Yeah.
What she was saying, she's smart, so I could explain it.
And honestly, Chris, this is a transition year.
Yeah.
So everybody's guessing and projecting, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I understand that for sure. So I'm definitely curious to see kind of how this year plays out and, what ends up happening there. But
I can't speak for the RIA board, but I think. So there's a positive at this point. Back in the day with the old boys, when I started, it was 16 or 18. So my case of here, there you go. It was a real productive.
Yeah, we don't do that. We don't do that now.
That's correct. Sorry.
All right, anything else under parks? Mrs. Roberts, do you want to do VRIA?
Pretty self-explanatory. We're making a contribution to the RIA, $67,825. It said $67,811 and some odd cents, and I just rounded it to $25.
Okay.
And that, again, that's just kind of like, we're just trying to do our best guess at this point on that, right?
Mr. Knopfsinger made a presentation on the night that we did that, and he
Yeah.
had figures where, the offsets for the, the fees and all the other things, and that's, again, their best guess.
Yeah, okay.
So,
And we provided him with salary numbers for officials and, the amounts that were paid for uniforms, and so, hopefully we'll be in the ballpark.
I'm sorry.
right here.
Huh? I'm sorry, I got a family situation I got.
No, just didn't, if you needed to take a break, I was gonna take a break, but if,
Anytime.
you okay?
I'm with you all the way.
All right, then we're gonna take a 5-minute break. We'll